You ever hear about a blind bull raising two orphaned foals like they were his own and then teaching them how to change the lives of every animal on the ranch? I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't seen it unfold right here, day after day, in the heart of Silverwood Valley. My name's Claire Donnelly, and I've been running Evergreen Ridge Ranch for almost 30 years. I've seen storms rip barns in half. I've seen eagles pluck lambs clean off the ground, but nothing prepared me for what I witnessed the summer Jasper took in Stella and Scout. Jasper was an Angus bull, jet black, over a ton of muscle but gentle in a way I'd never seen before. He'd been blinded in a lightning strike 3 years before this story even begins. Most people would have put him down, but something told me not to. Something about the way he still listened, still navigated the pasture without panic, like he'd found another way to see the world. I kept him because I felt like he had more to teach us. Then came the stormy night when a mare named Lacey died, giving birth to twins Stella and Scout. Beautiful Arabians, delicate and trembling like reeds in the wind. No mama, no guidance, just two orphan foals blinking into a world too big for them. I was gearing up for round-the-clock bottle feeding and praying they'd survive the week. But the next morning, I walked out to the far pasture and stopped cold. There was Jasper standing still as stone, massive head lowered gently over the foals like a guardian angel in hooves. They were tucked against his legs, eyes closed, breathing slow. I didn't know whether to cry or call the vet. It wasn't just strange, it was impossible. Bulls don't care for foals. They barely care for their own. But Jasper was different. At first, I figured it was a one-off, maybe they'd wandered too close, and he didn't mind, but it became clear real quick this was more than proximity. Jasper started leading them around the pasture gently, nudging them toward the feeding stations I'd set up. Blind as he was, he knew exactly where they were. If Scout tripped or Stella cried out, Jasper would swing that massive head toward the sound and position himself between them and whatever had spooked them. One night, when a coyote slipped through the fence, Jasper stood between the pups and danger like a wall of flesh and fury, head lowered, muscles tensed. The coyote didn't dare. Even my ranch vet, Dr. Erica Chun, said she'd never seen anything like it. "Claire," she said, watching them from the fence, "this bull's not just protective. He's parenting them. That's unheard of." And it was. But there it was, plain as day. Jasper had taken those foals as his own. The foals weren't dumb either. They figured out he couldn't see, so they stayed close, brushed against him gently, made these soft nickers to let him know where they were. They started guiding him, actually nuzzling his side when rocks or fence posts were near. It was like this perfect give and take. He was their eyes, their courage. They were his eyes, his balance. And something in that equation made both of them more than what they were. For 3 months, the bond grew like roots in spring. Scout was quiet, observant, the thinker. Stella, she was the firecracker. Bolder, always first to trot ahead and explore, but never out of reach from Jasper's snort of warning. I swear to God, that bull had 3 different rumbles, one for stay close, one for okay to explore, and one that meant get back here now. And those foals obeyed like it was gospel. But the ranch had its skeptics. One in particular, Marla Grayson, who ran the neighboring ranch and considered herself the authority on anything equine related, didn't like what she was seeing. "They're getting soft," she told me at a cattle auction. "Letting a blind bull raise Arabians? You're ruining their instincts." I laughed it off at the time, but her words stuck with me. Because truth was, as the foals grew, they weren't acting like other yearlings. They were calmer, kinder even. They weren't brawling with the other colts or trying to dominate the pasture. They were watching like they'd learned more about emotional cues than pecking orders. Then Rosalind happened. Rosalind was my lead mare, strong, seasoned, and very maternal. She started calling out to the foals from her pasture, nudging the gate with her nose, like she wanted them in her herd. I figured it was natural. Horses need horses, right? But Jasper didn't like it. The first time Rosalind got close, Jasper placed himself between her and the foals. No aggression, just presence. A wall of muscle, humming low in warning. I watched the whole thing from the hill. It wasn't a fight, it was something deeper. Rosalind wasn't there to hurt them. She just didn't understand why they weren't coming to her. She pushed forward, Jasper held firm, and the foals stood, their ears flicking, unsure, caught between 2 parents who spoke different languages. And then Rosalind backed down. Not out of fear, but respect. She dipped her head slow, deliberate, and turned away. After that, she started visiting regularly. Not to take them away, but to teach them. She'd run with them, show them how to interact with the herd, while Jasper remained the anchor, the heart. It was like co-parenting across species. And that, I think, is when the magic really began. The foals grew into yearlings, tall, strong, but with an eerie grace about them. And they started doing things no horse had ever done on this ranch. They calmed the cattle during branding season. They broke up a sheep stampede by placing themselves between the ewes and a spooked bull calf. They even got 2 barn cats to stop fighting over the hayloft. I'm not kidding, they became little diplomats. We started calling them the bridge because that's what they did. They bridged gaps. Between cows and sheep. Between dogs and goats. Between nervous foals and traumatized animals we took in from shelters. It was like Jasper had raised them not just to survive but to heal. The first time I truly realized what we had was the day we brought in a stallion named Titan, gorgeous, high-strung, and meaner than a snake with a toothache. He'd been abused by his old owner and couldn't be handled. I was ready to give up. But Scout and Stella, they just stood near his pen for hours. No pressure. No expectations. Just presence. By day 3, Titan let Scout touch his shoulder. By week 2, he was following Stella around like a puppy. It wasn't training, it was trust. Word got out. People started calling, asking if we could take in other animals' dogs with PTSD, aggressive goats, neglected colts. We didn't have a program. We had a blind bull and 2 horses who refused to give up on the broken. And that's when I knew we had something the world needed. Not just a story, but a model. We turned part of the ranch into the Silverwood Healing Center. Not a rescue, not a zoo, just a space where animals could learn to feel safe again. And at the center of it all, Jasper. Older, slower, but still the heartbeat. He passed away quietly one October morning, laid down near the pond, under a maple tree turning gold. Stella and Scout were with him. They knew. We all knew. That night, no animal made a sound. It was like the whole valley held its breath. But the next morning they got up. Stella nudged open the gate. Scout walked to the sheep pen. And the work continued. We buried Jasper on the hill, facing east toward the rising sun, like he always did. We put up a statue later, bronze and bold. The inscription reads, "He saw with his heart." And now, years later, I still get emails. From vets, from soldiers, from people with rescue dogs who bark at every doorbell. They ask if what we do is real. If horses can heal trauma. If a blind bull really raised peacekeepers. And I tell them, come see for yourself. But now I want to ask you, what do you think? Can animals teach us more about love than we teach them? Can healing cross species? Can a blind bull teach us what most humans still struggle to learn? Let me know in the comments below. Share this if it moved you. And if you've ever seen something that changed the way you see the world, I'd love to hear about it. Because sometimes, the best teachers don't have voices, they just listen. And just last spring, 5 years after Jasper's passing, we had a group of kids from the city visit. Foster youth, some of them just barely holding it together. I remember one boy in particular, quiet, angry, wouldn't look anyone in the eye. His name was Trey. He sat alone under the oak tree near Jasper's grave, wouldn't even go near the horses. I didn't push. I've learned over the years you wait. But it was Scout who saw him first, walked over without a sound, laid down right next to the boy like he had all the time in the world. Trey didn't flinch. He didn't run. He just sat there. An hour passed. Then 2. By the time the sun dipped low, he had his head resting on Scout's neck like they'd known each other forever. When his social worker came to pick him up, she asked me what I said to him. I said, nothing. Scout did the talking. That's when I understood that Jasper wasn't gone. Not really. His way of loving, of protecting, of seeing without sight, it lived on. Not just in Scout and Stella, but in every animal that passed through our gates, and every person who watched and learned and softened because of it. And that's the thing about legacy. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's the soft nudge of a horse's nose against your shoulder when you think you're alone. Sometimes it's 2 orphan foals raising a broken stallion into a leader. And sometimes it's a blind bull teaching a rancher how to see again. So, if you're still with me, I want to leave you with this. Don't underestimate what love can do. Don't assume healing comes only from humans. And maybe, just maybe, the most broken among us are the ones who carry the blueprint for something better. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed an animal change someone's life? Do you believe love real? Unconditional love can cross species, heal trauma, and even rebuild community? Let's talk about it in the comments. Share your story, your questions, your doubts. Because this story isn't just about a bull, or two horses, or a ranch in the valley. It's about what happens when we stop assuming who's supposed to lead and just follow the ones who love best. Thanks for listening. And thank you, Jasper.